Property prices at record levels. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article about property prices at record levels. Now this is a couple of days old, and other articles that are appearing, which we'll cover in another episode, are that property's peaking and starting to fall. So we're seeing is this the peak of property prices and they're starting to come tumbling down, and the people that are predicting this massive property correction, will they finally be vindicated, or is it just going to be a little bump, or even at pre-COVID levels? Now, I wouldn't say we've got any significant correction until we're at pre-COVID prices, because I remember in 2019 we were bitching about property prices before any of this shit happened. I've gotten pretty jaded now with the idea that any of our political establishment, or even anyone really in Australia, wants housing to be affordable. I think it's all just talk, guys. I don't think it's going to happen. So, property prices hit a new record high as home ownership slips out of reach. It's good news for homeowners and bad news for those looking to get into the property market, with home prices reaching a new record high in November. Australian home values have regained the losses from the recent market downturn and have now surpassed their previous peak to hit a new record high, according to CoreLogic's National Home Value Index. CoreLogic Executive Research Director Tim Lawless said, "This V-shaped recovery may seem counterintuitive given households were struggling with high interest rates, cost of living pressures, and low consumer sentiment. However, the recovery can be explained by an imbalance between supply and demand," Lawless said. Yes, I've gone through the pillars of the housing market. I may need to again in maybe in this video or maybe in another one, but half of the people live in Melbourne, Brisbane, and Sydney. You've got immigration coming back. People are coming back to Australia. People want to live in Australia. It's a nice, boring country on the edge of the world. It's stable and unexciting. You've got a government which pretty much seems hell-bent on using the construction sector and the housing sector to stimulate the economy, and you've got so many institutions that have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo around property. So, and then throw some petrol of the construction apocalypse where we're losing a lot of builders. Is this going to be addressed anytime soon? From a supply perspective, advertised stock levels have held remarkably low through 2023. Listings remain 16.6% below the previous 5-year average nationally. At the same time, demonstrated demand based on the volume of home sales is trending roughly in line with the 5-year average. After reaching a peak in April 22, national home values fell 7.5%, bottoming out in January 23. Since then, values have risen 8.1% to hit the record high. So more areas to reach record highs. While the national index has reached a new high, prices are patchy for some areas. Perth, Adelaide, and Brisbane are all at record highs for the capital cities. On the other end of the scale, Hobart values remain 11.8% below their peak. Sydney and Melbourne are also below their peak, down 1.8 and 3.6 respectively. But isn't Hobart driven by Victorians buying holiday homes down there? Because they want to live in even more cold climate for some reason. Don't get me wrong, Hobart's beautiful. I have to go back there. But as values continue to trend higher across most regions, Lawless predicts we're likely to see more areas return to record highs. While this is great news for homeowners, for those looking to buy, affordability pressures are becoming more pressing amid rising values, high interest rates, and worsening serviceability challenges. The good news for prospective buyers is that the pace of growth is clearly easing in some markets as advertised stock levels rise and purchasing demand remains fragile. SQM Research this week forecast property prices would decline across most capitals next year, including a drop of 4% for Sydney, 3% for Melbourne. Perth and Brisbane were the only cities expected to record price rises. Recent research by Suburb Trends found Australian households now need to earn more than $300,000 to comfortably afford to buy a home. Yeah, that's 2 professional couples each on 150 grand. That's not unachievable, but it just means there's going to be a class divide in who can buy a house and who can't. And, well, I mean, this is going to be in, let's say, more luxurious parts of Australia. The research was based on the median multiple, which is a global standard for housing affordability and compares the median house price to the median annual household income. According to Suburb Trends, Aussies currently have to pay more than 9 times the average annual income to buy the average house. Okay, here they're talking about household income. Here they're talking about average annual income. Those are 2 different things. A household income these days has 2 people minimum, or most likely working to earn that money for the household, or maybe 1.5. That's different to the average annual income. That's an individual. That's a couple, or a 1.5. This is a way. This is way above what is considered affordable. To reach the average affordable median multiple of 3, Australian families need an average income of 301,000. This soars for more expensive areas with Sydney North Beach. Yeah, but that's not. Okay. Sydney Northern Beaches is not for average people. Okay? Oh, boo-hoo, deal with it. If you want to get a luxurious house, you start somewhere and you build yourself up. Or you get born into wealth, or you go in a profession or a career where you can earn a shitload of money. Or you get lucky. Or you work hard your whole life. Or you become a politician. or become a civil servant. There you go. The city's outer west of the Blue Mountains drops to 283,000 a year, so 140 grand each. This isn't merely about numbers, it's about the erosion of the Australian dream. Home ownership is slipping out of reach for average owners. Larden said, yes, it is. It has. It has, or at least Sydney has. So let's have a bit of a chat about this one, guys. I mean, this frustrates me. People think we're still living in the 60s where you've got households with only one income. No, we don't have that. Okay, feminism won, so now women have to work too. And then you got to put your kids in childcare that everyone complains they want the government to provide for free. So they'll tax you more, so they want to get you to working more. So rather than, being able to provide for a family on one income, buy a house that's affordable, and allowing usually the mother to spend a few good quality years with their kids before going back to work, you're getting people putting like newborns in childcare, which is really depressing. So here's the thing. You just need to realize that you've got 2 income households. That's the norm now. Okay? And certain parts of Australia are not going to be for average Australians anymore to buy a house because things change. Cities change. You can't expect to buy and live in the same suburb that you grew up in if your parents bought some shit box, 2-bedder that needed that didn't even have a driveway on the outer edge of civilization, pretty much. That's now become inner city luxury with a whole range of amenities for the same money. People aren't getting that. I think Australians are too rooted in their location, and the prospect of even having to move around scares them. I mean, you don't need to spend that much on a house. You can move to Brisbane and get a cheaper one. You can move to the Gold Coast. You can get. I spoke to one viewer who moved up from Sydney, got a place in Helensvale, much cheaper. It's just what people do, or it's what they do in other parts of the world. So I don't know, guys. Is it unreasonable to expect to have to move? I mean, Australia is a country with a significant proportion of people that were immigrants that immigrated over here. My own father did. How many of your parents did? That was what people did. And now Aussies don't want to do that? You tell me. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.